trying to revive a project that's been stashed away for a couple of months now. Isn't it a shame how easily that happens? You always start out with the best intentions, the most righteous passion, with the honest commitment to see it through to the bitter end. But for whatever reason, it seems that not all sewing projects are born equal. There's them that enjoy our utmost attention and care, and then there's them that we just sort of fiddle with, maybe cracking a few steps before disinterest or just plain old life gets in the way. I started this one over the Christmas break, and now it's late March. I've been busy making my wedding suit, and it was starting to feel a little bit like hard work. I wanted something more fun to refresh my enthusiasm, or as I like to call it in moments of weakness, my sojo, not to mention something less complicated than a fully tailored suit. I thought it was a foolproof plan. I think there are lots of reasons why we can cool off on our projects. Maybe the fabric we chose starts to gross us out. Maybe we just timed it wrong for the season we're in. No one needs a pea coat in the height of summer, that kind of thing. Maybe you just realise it's harder than it looks. Maybe you get seduced by the next project coming around the corner. Maybe, all at once, we just can't be bothered. I suppose it was a mix of things in my case. What I'm making is a vest. In fact, the same as the one I'm wearing right now. And I'm making it using a zero-waste pattern called Lynn by Tauko, although I think it's actually pronounced more like Tauko. Anyway, and if you don't already know it, this is a really, really great sewing and fashion publication that's operating out of, or I guess between, Helsinki in Finland and Berlin in Germany. Now, a lot of their patterns are implicitly, if not explicitly, unisex, and when I saw this one in issue 6, I knew I had to have one, if not several. And so when my fiancée proclaimed that she wasn't really sure what to do with this beautiful white ball denim that she'd bought, I very generously stepped in with the intention of remaking possibly my favourite garment so far. Now with this garment, you don't have pattern pieces that you use to cut out the panels. Instead, you just mark the dimensions directly onto the fabric and cut out according to those. And because all the pieces are just quadrangular, or else triangular divisions of those quadrangles, you can cut out every piece from just one rectangular block of fabric and create no waste scraps in between. Hence zero waste. It's a very elegant approach, I think. And while the resulting fit is rather blocky, if you like, you can taper the seams and hide any excess within the garment because it's got a lining. And it's then just like inlaying a tailored project, sort of deliberately included excess that's there for you down the line if you need to make alterations. I've found nothing holds up a project like the prospect of cutting it out. Sometimes it really is over before you've even begun. Now for this vest, you cut pretty much the same pieces of both the lining and the garment fabric. I managed cutting out the garment fabric pieces, but I could tell by that point already that I was losing my nerve. So I decided to go as far as I could with those pieces and just those pieces, build up some momentum, and only then would I cut my lining. In this case, just some plain calico that I use for making toiles. Now, I don't know how it is with you, but sometimes I like to make, what should I call them? Improvisational embellishments to my projects. They're always much sketchier in real life than they are in my head. What I'm trying to say is that it wasn't the fabric itself that grossed me out, indeed perish the thought, just rather what I did to it. Since it's a nice, plain, off-white shade, I thought it would benefit from a few splashes of colour. And being a hand sewing enthusiast who also wanted to put off cutting out the lining, I thought I'd make a primitive attempt at some sashiko. That's these bits of embroidery here. Now, if you don't know, sashiko is a Japanese style of embroidery that makes use of patterns of relatively small stitches to make geometric effects. And it was originally used to reinforce worn-out garments in a decorative way. What I did, however, was more akin to a few aimless doodles, the hurried work of a few minutes each. So, filled with regret and unable to look the great nation of Japan in the eye, I stashed the panels away and tried to move on with my life. Now, some people will buy a book, and if they don't like it, they'll just leave it half finished and then just carry on living their carefree lives. I think I admire those people, maybe even envy them, because I just can't. It's the same with sewing. Like the unfinished book, those half-formed scraps just cry out to me in my dreams. And so eventually I found myself back at the machine, working on a garment I possibly neither want nor need anymore, just trying to find some peace. Now, whether your motive is responsibility or just plain guilt, I do think ultimately that it does feel best to do right by your fabrics and see those abandoned projects through to the end. Hope that comes out in the wash. Besides, it can take the pressure off, you know? Knowing that you already gave up on it once, it's a free hit, it's a bonus. Worst case, it's good practice and maybe just a weird gift for one of your more forgiving friends. The best case, well, you may be surprised to learn that the doubt, the distraction, the disinterest, the sheer laziness that first led you off the path to begin with, stopped you from seeing what was at the end of it. your new favourite garment. I'm never going to wear this in public, am I? Especially if that doesn't come out in the wash. Let's see.